Quadenif, what's up, y'all? Just shooting a video, as you can see by the title, about implicit bias. So I want to talk about what it is, some resources, and personal experience with it as well. So I'm going to be looking down a little bit, reading, but also sharing, mainly just from two websites. So the first one I just found tonight, it's called perception.org, and I like the description of it in 3 sections. So what is it, first of all? So thoughts and feelings are implicit if we are unaware of them or mistaken about their nature. We have a bias when, rather than being neutral, we have a preference for or aversion to a person or group of people. Thus, we use the term implicit bias to describe when we have attitudes toward people or associate stereotypes with them without our conscious knowledge. So a fairly commonplace example of this is seen in studies that show that white people will frequently associate criminality with black people without even realizing they're doing it. So this website then goes on to say why it matters, and there's just one other section. So it says the mind sciences have found that most of our actions occur without our conscious thoughts, allowing us to function in our extraordinarily complex world, meaning that our implicit biases often predict how we'll behave more accurately than our conscious values. Multiple studies have also found that those with higher implicit bias levels against black people are more likely to categorize non-weapons as weapons, such as a phone for a gun or a comb for a knife, and in computer simulations are more likely to shoot an unarmed person. Similarly, white physicians who implicitly associated black patients with being less cooperative were less likely to refer black patients with acute coronary symptoms for thrombosis for specific medical care. Last section is just what can be done about this. Is social scientists are in the early stages of how to bias. It's clear that media and culture makers have a role to play by ceasing to perpetuate stereotypes and use in popular culture. In the meantime, institutions and individuals can identify risk areas where our implicit biases may affect our behaviors and judgments. I think this is a key area here. So institutioning specific procedures of decision making and encouraging people to be mindful of the risks of implicit bias can help us avoid acting according to biases that are contrary to our conscious values and beliefs. So I'm going to go to the website here, and I'll share these links below, these two websites, in the description below. So the main website is the Project Implicit. It's by Harvard. I was exposed to this in school, and I'm not going to go over it fully, I don't think, but I do have some tabs open I want to review, at least parts of them. So the About Us page there just talks about how there are a collaboration of researchers interested in the implicit social cognition. Similarly, they've got this virtual lab, and it was founded in 1998 by 3 scientists: University of Washington, Tony Greenwald, Harvard University, I'm not sure how you say the names, Mazarin Banaji, and Brian Nozek at University of Virginia. So that's that, and you want details to all this stuff, there's the committee below there. They've got a blog page on there as well. It talks about training, classroom, publishing, linking it to other sources as well. And there's that page. There's the educational piece, where this is probably short, just to review real quick. So it says people don't always say what's on their minds, and one reason they're unwilling, for example, someone might report smoking a pack of cigarettes per day because they are embarrassed to admit they smoke too. Another reason is that they are unable. A smoker may truly believe that she smokes a pack a day or might not keep track at all. And the difference between being unwilling and unable is the difference between purposely hiding something from someone and unknowingly hiding something from yourself. And so the implicit association test, the IATs, measure attitudes and beliefs that people may be unwilling or unable to report, especially if it shows that you have an implicit attitude that you did not know about. For example, you may believe that women and men should be equally associated with science, but your automatic association could show that you, like many others, associate men with science more than you associate women with science. So that's what they say there. And then they've got the I think it's the take the test page, and they've got the preliminary information, disclaimers. I'm not going to really go across that. You can check out that page there as well. There is an about. There's a page here that gets more in depth. So here, I'll just say what the test is. I'll go over it real quick. So in case, just you want to know a little more before you take it. So the IATs, you're basically making associations between concepts. So black people, gay people, evaluations, good, bad, stereotypes, athletic, clumsy. And the idea is to respond easier when closely related items share the same response key. So basically, it's very simple. It's left, right hand side of the computer screen. You press E, you press I. If the word belongs to the right, and there's 5 main parts, and there's different tests for different categories, depending on what you want to take it on. And then in second, so the first part, you're doing the relating concepts: fat people, thin people. Fat people on the left, with a picture of a heavy person appearing on the screen, would be E, and then the second, relating to evaluation, good, bad. So again, I'm not going to go through all this, but y'all are welcome to go through this website here. I do want to get to just my experience with it, and without making this video too long. So let's see. So because the IATs reveal troubling aspects of human nature, it poses the possibility of causing discomfort. So these are ethical considerations. If you're using it for research, it should take this into account. And people may use these things to make decisions about themselves, what they should buy, where they should go to school, jobs. But it says that they shouldn't be used for such a way, even though that's how people may use them. So I really would direct people to the frequently asked questions page. Honestly, that's a great page. They've got questions like what is an attitude? What are implicit and explicit stereotypes? The questions go on. Is the IAT related to behavior? Where do implicit attitudes come from? Is it me or my culture? What can I do about an implicit preference that I don't want? So these are all great questions, and I could go through these one by one. If y'all want me to, let me know. I can read them and then give my take on them individually. But for now, I just wanted to get this resource out there because I found it pretty helpful. So maybe I'll read one example. Let's see here. So people sometimes have, questions about the validity of these tests. So here's a question: could the result be a function of handedness or hand-eye coordination? And the answer is there's no evidence that handedness influences IAT scores. When thinking about the influence of hand-eye coordination or cognitive ability, keep in mind how the test works. In a gay-straight IAT, we measure how long it takes people to categorize items when gay people and good straight people and bad are paired together, versus when straight people and good gay people bad are paired together. So people who have better hand-eye coordination or higher cognitive ability might be generally faster to respond, but there's no reason to think that they would be faster in one category pairing versus the other. So for that reason, they don't think that it's going to be a factor, and their research doesn't show that. And then there's another good question about belongingness to groups. So if do black participants show a preference for black people over white people on the race attitude IAT? Do gay participants show a preference for gay over white, and older or young? And that's a good question to explore too. The short is basically, trying to summarize it, that basically, black people, gay people, older people tend to have more positive implicit attitudes towards their group, but they also still have the stigmatized negative associations and tend to go with the group stuff, the cultural biases. So gay people tend to show an implicit preference for straight people relative to gay, but is not as strong as the implicit preference shown by straight people. And this reminds me of the video, I don't know if anyone's ever seen with the children, with the doll test, where they'll show black-bodied girls, which doll is prettier, or in a picture, and it'll be a spectrum, and they will choose the lighter skin ones because they're understanding the messages that are being given. And I think this is probably a good point to just say, to get into my own experience. So my experience, took this in some of my power, privilege, difference courses, and I think these are powerful tests because I think a lot of times when we're talking about biases, we are on the good bad binary where it's especially when we're talking about liberal people. I think there's a lot of work that people do to fight for injustice and things like that. So there's this idea that if I have a bias, I'm bad, and I support things, and I think it's important to step away from that and realize that it's not the case, that we are all getting the same messages. For example, me being brown body, South Asian, I'm getting the same messages about black bodies that white bodies are. Now, there's also colorism. There's stuff within my own groups, so South Indians and North Indians, for example, and to have those is to be aware of them is to dissipate their power. Because they're there, and the power that they have over my life is present, and it's going to be present because of the media, because of the messages we're getting, because of what's passed down generation by generation, because of housing practices, because of systemic racism. If we're talking about race, so it just depends on the subject. If we're talking about LGBT, or fatness and thinness, and like we said, good, bad. So overall, I would say these tests have been really helpful for me. I think they're a great tool for people to take to help, get kind of decrease the guilt behind it and start to just work on it from a factual point of view, and to just go ahead and trust the test. I've seen people in the past take the exams and say, well, really question the validity and really be really critical of it. And there's been a lot of research and data to provide that these are valid tests. So I think starting from that point is a good place to go to. Of course, I always, it's good to encourage questioning things in the world, and I do that as well. But so you're welcome to do your own research on the validity. So I just wanted to share this a little bit here tonight. More to come. Thanks for watching. And if you're subscribed already, thank you. If not, please subscribe, consider hitting the notification bell as well, and share for more content like this and to help the community grow. So, a plus.